888-868. I appreciate you being willing to come on the program today and being part of the process and progress. And R.L. Bain is here right now. TheBainReport.com is his website. I hope you'll check it out. It's a fascinating blog that has great articles, and you'll appreciate the R.L.'s insight and also the articles he shares with you from the sources, too. I appreciate spending time with me today, R.L.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Well, getting back to Randy Richardsville's move on the minimum wage, what are you hearing from people? Has this thing got a good chance of passing, or is this just something to calm down the movement to get this on the ballot? Or what do you think the end goal is?
Well, the end goal is obviously to get the minimum wage up to where the people that are initiating the process want it, and that's where the problem lies. Is because King Richie, he doesn't think that that's wise. It's not in his best interest. So that's why he's introduced this legislation to nip it at the bud, if you will. Because if they pass this legislation, which I heard on the radio today, it very well may be going to a vote this afternoon. If it passes and our lovely Governor Rick Snyder signs it into law, then that's going to put a kibosh on that ballot initiative.
Tell us how it does that. Explain how that works.
I can go back to 1991. I was part of a grassroots organization called the Patriots for Erie County.
Mm-hmm.
It was an organization which tried to secede. We tried to take 20 downriver communities south of Detroit to the Monroe line, and we tried to take them communities and secede from Wayne County and form Michigan's 84th county for taxation without representation. And that's twofold. One was the majority of our tax dollars that are sent to Lansing either go to Ingham County, Lansing, or Wayne County, Detroit. And so, say for every dollar we sent in taxation, we were lucky to see like 3 cents back in return. So, but we also seen the corruption in Wayne County that far back. And we thought it would be the best interest. We had business owners, Heinz Prichter, he was big in the Republican Party, owned American Sunroof. He was behind it. He lent us his facilities at when he owned the Holiday Inn there. And I'm telling you, Lansing did the same thing to us that Richardville's trying to do this ballot initiative. They claimed on the paperwork it got misplaced or something. It ended up costing us, I think it was 30 or 60 days of signature gathering time, and we fell 30,000 signatures short of getting it on the ballot. If it would have got on the ballot, I guarantee you it would have passed overwhelmingly. But the big problem was Fast Eddie McNamara, one of the Coleman Young's sidekicks back in that day, hence the McNamara Terminal at Detroit Metropolitan Airport. The airport was his cash cow. That's where he was making his campaign coffer money, okay? Well, this was going to interfere with that. And there was a press conference, and, I'm sorry, I take that back. It was, the press was there, covering it, but it was a meeting of the Southeast Michigan Chamber of Commerce, and he was on the podium, he was the keynote speaker, and one of the reporters asked him, do you think this initiative is going to go through? And he says, not in my lifetime, which was code word for, we ain't going to let it happen. No matter what the people want, they're not going to let it happen. And it's the same thing with this minimum wage deal.
So basically find a way to circumvent the entire thing. Now, how will this work in this case? I mean, the last time I saw the legislation, the talk was to raise it on its own. Is it to just get the smaller raise in place to where they can't get that 10 an hour thing? Is that the whole goal? Is to cut them off the pass?
That's the intent. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, I heard it on WWJ 950 News Radio this afternoon. I heard that. What was it? I think it's Tim Skubic out of Lansing. He's their guy. He comes on and gives them an update. And he said the word is that they may hold the vote this afternoon. Now that's awful quick. He just introduced this thing. It's any legislation that benefits them, because this is all about money. This is all about campaign coffers. This is all about them getting reelected. It's all about them keeping their snout in the public trough because they probably couldn't make it in the private sector. And what happens is these big business buddies, these execs that are pushing all this stuff, they're funneling money to their campaign coffers. Hey, we need this. We can't have this. So I don't know. It's just everything's a mess. Everything's corrupt. You know, we as a people have to get out of this mindset that I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican.
Yes, we do. We've got to start voting. That's why I love the reforms that have come in North Carolina. One of the things, I don't have the whole list in front of me. It was like several reforms, and they were every one of them was good. And the reason I know it was good, it got the progressives screaming. And one of them it got them screaming about that I thought was the biggest one they did last year was to no longer just go in and check Republican or Democrat and walk out the door. They said that
Right.
you have to vote for every single office individually. And you know what? There'll be people that will walk in the first election that happens, and they'll feel stupid because they couldn't do it, and they won't feel like they can vote, and they'll just make a fool of themselves. But I guarantee you that'll only happen one election because people don't like to be embarrassed. When they see the new way of doing business, they'll come back and they'll actually study the issues a little bit and see who they want to vote for. What a concept!
Yeah, well, also, we, as taxpayers, should not be funding the primaries. That's insane.
Well, we don't for the minor parties. Why should we do it for the big boys? That's a good point. That's a very valid point.
You know, and it's so the campaign finance. That's a disaster. You know, remember how many years back was it when Juan McLean and his buddy Feingold, the Democrat from Wisconsin, did this? Oh, there was a big brouhaha. They did this great campaign finance act. That was nothing but to help them and to hurt any of us citizens like now that are trying to run against the big boys because we're not happy with the representation we're getting.
Oh, it's exactly to protect the big. Yeah, if I can talk, protect the big numbers. We've got a guest that's going to be scheduled pretty soon talking about that same thing they've pulled in Ohio. I mean, it's happening across the country right now to try to keep the two big players keep the club with the D and the R, not let anybody else get into those big clubs or create something minor of their own and just cut it short every way you can. Oh, just got this in. Thank you for sending this to me, my friend. Just got an article sent. Free Press has this online. Says the Michigan Senate has okayed the minimum wage hike to $9.20 in an attempt to kill the petition drive. Interesting photo on their website. Randy Block and Tom Moran came to Lansing to protest a minimum wage hike that would make their petition drives get higher minimum wage meaningless. Those two are sitting in the galley right now with duct tape over their face. and I can't read Tom Moran's, a little far away, but Randy Block's you can read. They wrote with marker on it. It says, "Hear us out, let us vote," on the duct tape that's over his mouth. That's great. That's great.
You see what I'm saying? I knew I heard that on the radio. But how fast did this happen? He just introduced it a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe.
Well, that's what's happening.
Last week, maybe.
Does anybody remember? I think it was, gosh, who was it? Was it Frank? I'm trying to remember who it was. It was Jefferson or something. One of the founders said, it was either Franklin or Jefferson who said it's the government is slow to make good laws. And then they pause, the three dots, and it says, but thank God it's slow to make bad ones. And where did that go? Where did that whole concept go?
Yeah, really. Everything's out the window. Like I say, you know, I've been a voting Republican for over 40 years. My dad was a diehard John F. Kennedy Democrat, UAW, for 43 years, Chrysler Corporation. And boy, when I come out of the Air Force, you can imagine some of the conversations we had at the dinner table. I went in as a Democrat, come out as a Republican. But the thing is, people, like on social media and what have you, my conservative friends, why are you always picking on the Republicans? Why don't you pick on the Democrats? I said, because the Democrats hate my party. I'm appalled at what my party has become. You know? And
so you still see yourself as a Republican at heart?
Well, at heart, yes, but I'm telling you, the Republican Party left me. I didn't leave them. And I think that a lot of people feel that way.
Well, a lot of people used to say that about the Democratic Party. Well, you remember the Reagan Democratic movement. I mean, a lot of people, the Democrats have left me, and that's how Ronald Reagan got elected, they claim, and so forth. You've heard that. So these things do have cycles to them. But the thing is, where's the next cycle going to be?
Greg, I think really what we need, you've only got right now two major parties, so it's a two major choice. I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. What is needed in this country is a viable third party to offset this, so it's not one or the other.
And the thing is, to do that, we've got to change the system and realize, you see, Bill Clinton, people forget this, but Bill Clinton, when the Ross Perot thing came up, his administration did every kind of change in the election rules to make it impossible. The six parties that exist in the United States, the four minors and the two majors, are really realistically going to be the only ones that exist from here on out. They changed the rule. It takes a 25-year arc right now to get on the national ballot today. 25 years worth of stuff has to happen to get on there, and they did that on purpose because they knew the movement to create. I hear people come to me all the time saying, we need to start the Tea Party and really make it a party. Good luck. What you need to do, we don't have time. We only have 25 years to play games. If you're serious, go take over one of the minor parties with sheer numbers, join them, and change their platforms to what you think is important, and go for it. The machinery already exists. We're wasting a lot of time saying, well, we'll just do our own thing. Oh, my gosh, get off of it and do something that's going to help. Let's grab a call that wants to join in. R.L. Bain's here. I'm Greg Marshall. You're on the air. Hello.
Hi. Here's another Thomas Jefferson quote.
Yeah.
Any government that is big enough to give you everything you want is also big enough to take away everything you have.
Well, that's untrue.
Absolutely.
That is the truth.
Absolutely.
I gotta go.
Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. R.L., that is, truer words can't be spoken in this situation.
Well, I'm telling you. You know, I'll tell you though, I've been in contact with the Constitution Party. They're known here as the United States Taxpayer Party in Michigan because of the rules of the two major parties. They have to have some ungodly amount of signatures to use the name Constitution Party here in Michigan. But nationally, they're called the Constitution Party.
That's correct.
Just a wing of that, or affiliate of that.
Yep.
And I'm seriously contemplating on running for state rep or state senate under their banner for the simple fact is that I'm sick and tired of, and you know, people say, well, it's not tyranny. It is tyranny. Parties.
Well, when they say...
It's all about party. It's not about we the people.
People have
All they want us for is our votes. All they want is power and control. I would argue that the Democrat Party and the Republican Party are actually pretty good friends. They're pretty much the same. They project to the public that they're, you know, mortal enemies, and their policies are night and day different. I would argue that's just that's just a fallacy. I would say behind the scenes they have dinner together, they laugh together, they're best pals.
Let me tell you a quick story that'll support what you're saying, and it'll sound like I'm going nowhere. Give me a minute. Back years ago, gosh, probably in the 90s, I think it was, there was a couple of professional wrestlers that were mortal enemies, just mortal enemies. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and the Iron Sheik just hated each other, and they would fight, and they'd bloody each other up, and it'd be horrible, and it'd be on television every week. And then there was a news story that came out of New York, coming off the New Jersey Turnpike, where these two ended up in a car crash at the same time in the same vehicle. They went out to dinner after one of the shows. and they ended up in a car crash together. So much for mortal enemies. I bring that into political now. Think about it. Tip O'Neill and well, here's an example. Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan were good friends, even shockingly as that is. Orrin Hatch and Ted Kennedy were best friends. Orrin Hatch and Ted Kennedy were best friends. Bill Clinton and George Bush the elder have had vacations together. Now you tell me what's really going on. I mean, what you're saying is exactly right, R.L. That is exactly it.